Let's jump into it. Number 9.
The city of Troy, a myth that became an archaeological GPS. Imagine the stories of the Trojan War, Achilles, and the giant wooden horse being nothing more than a captivating fairy tale. From ancient Greek literature, for centuries, the city of Troy was considered a myth, a poetic invention with no real-world location. But then, a man named Heinrich Schliemann, armed with nothing but a dusty old book and unshakable belief, started digging. We were talking about an entire academic world laughing at him until his shovel hit something solid. That's when he found it. Layer after layer of a massive ancient city, perfectly matching the descriptions from Homer's Iliad. It is like finding a treasure map in a fairy tale that turns out to be a perfectly accurate street plan. He just find ruins. He unearthed the shocking truth that the war, the city, the myth, it was all real. For now, remember, sometimes the wildest stories are just history waiting to be found.
Number 8.
Amazonian warriors, the fable of a fierce tribe. Imagine the ancient Greek myth of a tribe of fierce, all-female warriors, the Amazons. They were considered pure fantasy, a legendary fable to embody powerful and exotic women. But then, a stunning series of archaeological digs began unearthing Scythian burial mounds in the vast steppes of Central Asia. That's when the chilling truth was revealed. We were talking about graves filled with the remains of warriors buried with their weapons, bows, and armor, and nearly a third of them were women. Some even had battle scars. It is like discovering that the fantasy blockbuster you love was actually a documentary. These findings gave a powerful and very real historical basis to the legend, proving that a tribe of warrior women wasn't just a myth, it was history. For now, know that some of history's most powerful stories are still buried, waiting to be found.
Number 7.
The Terraota Army, a secret so massive it couldn't be found. Imagine the rumors of a brutal emperor obsessed with immortality, whose tomb was so vast and secret it would be lost to time forever. For over some millennia, no one knew the truth of what lay beneath the ground. But then, a farmer in China, simply digging for a well, hit something hard. That's when he uncovered a secret so massive, so shocking, it changed history. We were talking about a vast, life-sized army of thousands of unique clay soldiers, archers, and chariots, all buried in battle formation. It is like finding a ghost army frozen in time, an unimaginable secret that wasn't in any history book. The Terraota Army was a myth in its own right, a monumental project of an emperor's paranoia. That proved to be a startling and very real part of a lost history. For now, remember that the ground beneath your feet could be hiding a monumental secret.
Number 6.
The lost city of Helik, the real Greek Atlantis. Imagine a myth from ancient Greece, a chilling legend of a prosperous city named Helik that was swallowed by the sea in a single night after a cataclysmic earthquake. For centuries, it was just a cautionary tale, a myth used to explain the god's wrath. But then, a team of archaeologists, armed with modern technology and old maps, started searching. That's when they found it. We were talking about the discovery of a city, perfectly preserved in the silt, exactly as the legend described. It is like finding a ghost town at the bottom of a lake, its buildings and roads frozen in time. The myth of Helik was, in fact, a real historical event, a city that was tragically and suddenly consumed by the earth. For now, know that not all myths are just stories. Some are memories of forgotten disaster.
Number 5.
Jamestown cannibalism, a chilling tale of survival. Imagine the grim tales from the 17th century Jamestown colony. Rumors of desperate settlers resorting to cannibalism during a brutal winter famine. For a long time, these stories were dismissed as sensationalist fables. But then came a shocking archaeological discovery. We were talking about the unearthing of a skull and shin bone of a teenage girl, with unmistakable cut marks from desperate, amateur butchery. It is like finding forensic evidence for a crime that was dismissed as folklore. This chilling proof gave a harrowing truth to the disturbing tales of the starving time, proving that the most desperate and horrifying myths can be rooted in the very real, tragic history of human survival. For now, remember that sometimes the most unsettling stories are the most truthful.
Number 4.
The Viking settlement, a Norse saga that changed history. Imagine 1,000 years of history hanging on a single, long-dismissed myth. The idea That Columbus was the first European to set foot in North America was dogma. But then, dusty old Norse sagas told tales of a place called Vinland. These sagas were considered unreliable folklore until archaeologists found something incredible. In Newfoundland, Canada, we were talking about the discovery of sod longhouses, an iron smelting furnace, and typical Norse artifacts, all dating back to the year 1000 AD. It is like a 1,000-year-old treasure map turning out to be perfectly accurate. The myth of the sagas was, in fact, a chronicle, proving Vikings had reached the shores of the New World centuries before Columbus. For now, know that history is never set in stone.
Number 3.
The Nazca lines, made by genius, not aliens. Imagine looking at the massive, perfect figures etched into the desert floor of Peru and wondering how an ancient civilization could possibly have created them. For decades, the impossible scale and precision of the Nazca lines fueled theories of alien intervention. But then, archaeologists decided to test a new theory. We were talking about using nothing more than simple tools available to the Nazca. People, rope, wooden stakes, and some basic measurements, and realizing that it was, in fact, entirely possible to create the giant figure. It is like discovering the magician's trick and realizing it was all done with a few simple props and a lot of human ingenuity. This proved that the Nazca people possessed a level of engineering genius that had been largely and unjustly mythologized. For now, let human intelligence stand as its own powerful marvel.
Number 2.
The golden city of El Dorado, a myth of a king. Imagine the Spanish conquistadors' greedy hunt for a mythical city of gold, El Dorado, being dismissed as a wild, fictional fantasy. For centuries, the legend was just that, but then, historians and archaeologists, armed with local lore and ancient chronicles, discovered something incredible. We were talking about the revelation that El Dorado wasn't a city at all, but a real-life king, or El Dorado, the Golden One. This Muisca chief would cover himself in gold dust and dive into the sacred lake Guadavita as part of a ceremonial ritual. It is like realizing the treasure they were searching for was based on a breathtakingly elaborate, very real ceremony. The legendary quest for the city was a myth, but it was based on a very real and very golden man. For now, know that sometimes the most fantastical myths are rooted in the most stunning human tradition.
Number 1.
Manoan civilization's plumbing, a technology lost to time. Imagine the ancient tales of the Manoan civilization on the island of Crete. A society so advanced their palaces had intricate plumbing systems, flushable toilets, and running water, a belief that was treated as an impossible fantasy. But then, Sir Arthur Evans began excavating the Palace of Knossos. That's when he made a shocking discovery. We were talking about the unearthing of terracotta pipes, sophisticated drainage systems, and bathtubs that were centuries ahead of their time, perfectly preserved. It is like finding a modern thermostat in an ancient Roman villa. This proved the myths true, giving undeniable proof of the sophistication of the Minoan, a feat of engineering that was lost to history for thousands of years. For now, remember that our ancestors may have been far smarter than we give them credit for.
Thanks for joining me today. To stay in the loop with all my upcoming videos, make sure you're subscribed.